Welcome back, dear viewers, and you are still watching The Breakfast Show, and in this segment of our program we will talk about Egypt's participation in the 6th round of the European Union EU, African Union EU summit that is scheduled for the 17th and 18th of February. The agenda of the talks is expected to include a variety of topics on the top of which is education, job creation, managing undocumented migration, combating militant groups, improving health. Many topics are expected to be tackled during the two-day summit, and today we are joined by Dr. Mostafa Waly. He's a founding member of the Egyptian European Council, and good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Mostafa. So I've just mentioned that Egypt is participating in this important African Union EU summit in Brussels, expected to be inaugurated tomorrow. How do you see the importance of Egypt's participation in such a conference or summit?
Actually, such gathering on such level where Egypt is always there and have been always there and will always be there. In this case, we are there as an African leading country with all the history behind us and ahead of us to fulfill the aspiration of the continent, which actually we as a country have been participating long ago in the most important thing at a certain time in the history, liberation of Africa. We had our role that time. So this time, now it's how to boost and develop the cooperation with Africa for the benefit of the African countries. And on such level and in such situation right now, any contribution to develop Africa on the real basis of development, which now is well known and it's tested, it's how to raise the standard and the development of the nations of the African countries, the African people and the African countries. Fortunately, Egypt is a leading figure by history and virtue of everything in Africa. So its role is always appreciated by the African countries and the African people and also the other parties dealing with Africa. Actually, we should always emphasize that we stem our strength as regional. It stem also of our belonging to Africa and to its causes, which is multiple and very promising, especially if the real wealth of Africa will be taken care of and utilized in the proper way with the assistance and help, of course, of the first world, and in this case of the former colonial forces. After this is now is a history. So, and in this case, it's the European Union in the first place. I mean, the European countries in the first place.
So, sir, the two-day summit is held under the title Africa and Europe, Two Continents with Joint Vision to 2030. So, do you think that the two continents now are sharing and are targeting the same vision for developments and achieving sustainable development and the agenda of 2030?
Well, if we refer to the latest of these conferences, which was the 5th, it was 2017, you will find that there were agreements on many topics directly related to the development of Africa and boosting and prosperous Africa, looking for prosperous Africa. They laid the foundation in special mottos, and of course, up till this moment, you can say that all have been fulfilled. Added to this as a negative also this COVID pandemic and its effect on the whole world, including Africa for sure. But anyway, I think any positive sign from the European side, we should stick to it and enhance it and stress on fulfilling the promises towards African countries. Because I myself, I remember I've been in such meetings long ago where were some promises that alleviating the debts of Africa, and this was a very important move. This was more than 20 years ago, and it happened for some time. So the demand is from the African side is getting is important, and taking care of it is
Development in
demand for
Africa.
development and,
Yes.
and seriousness, actually.
Because it's a raw continent, and still there are
Yes.
many chances
Yes.
for development.
And also let's look for the other side. Europe needs Africa, a safe, prosperous Africa, because we know all of us know that the bad effect or the negative effect of migration.
Yes,
What we
undocumented,
call now, they call it irregular immigration, which is illegal before. But anyway, and we, by the way, Egypt as the northern part of Africa, where actually it is the southern neighbor of Europe, is a very important factor in reducing this
Immigration,
on this, yes, and its bad effect on both sides, actually, on the human being and on Europe.
Yes, true. So, sir, also presidential spokesperson Bassem Radi said that the president will discuss Africa's economic integration into the global economy and the need for providing support to the continent to achieve the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. So how can we integrate the African economy to global economy?
This is a sublime mission, actually, and we are part of it. We as Egypt, part of it. And actually, we should actually appreciate His Excellency President Sisi is so keen about, the most important items of development. One of them is the integration of the economies of the developing world or the developing countries in the international economy, because it has a very positive effect if this happens in the right way. We have our experience in this, and we could be one of the most experienced countries in this topic, where the integration with the international or the world economy. I believe in this, and a lot of people believe in the importance of this. So the president, this was one of the most important topics.
Topics, yes.
And it complies actually, and it goes with the slogan, the most important slogan of the United Nations Sustainable SDGs, Sustainable Goal of Development.
Yes.
SDGs, and which is 17 parameter should be taken care of, and there is a deadlock, there is a date for it, that it should be achieved by 2030.
Yes.
So if Europe and if the European Union, represented by its chairmanship and its presidency, to take care of this and will improve this will be very good for Africa.
Yes. Also, the head of state is expected to review more means of attracting more investments to African countries, transferring technology to these developing nations, as well as enabling them to be more dependent on renewable energy sources. So how do you see these important topics that the president is expected to tackle in the summit?
If we take this specific issue of investment in Africa, this actually will be the core of all what we are trying to achieve. Because in the sense of investment, it has all the manifestation of investment. You can invest in people, you can invest in nature, you can invest positively in a lot of things. So if you have a package for investment, and that's, I think, what the president is looking for it, this will be very important, very good, and its results will be felt immediately. We are doing our share of it on a regional basis. We had this Aswan for youth. So, for example, I'm talking about specific and the youth meetings which we have, in this understanding. So, in this case, if we look that specifically what could be the items, the basic items, or the ways or the contribution of investment, you will find it directly related to how to make use or to rely on the efficiency, raising the capacity and technical level of the youth in Africa. And this is taken care of. Even we are looking for it as a country. With Europe, we are looking for it.
Yes.
So we are one of the most vibrant countries in dealing with Europe in this specific area where investment at large, and specifically with youth, and technical assistance and know-how.
Yes, sir. Also, one of the important events that are expected to take place this year is COP27 and
Yeah.
preparations, yes, for this big event. So, also, how can this COP27 summit help in reaching tangible solutions to climate change issues and the significance of Egypt hosting this important event?
It's very significant, and
Yes.
we should be very proud of for the choice that we, as representing Africa in this case, we are talking the
Yes.
continent, we will be taking care of holding and success of this coming event on November this year, and a lot can be done. A lot is needed to be prepared for. A lot of achievement is expected. It's fantastic venue, a fantastic event in a fantastic venue. Egypt, the north of Africa,
Yes.
and Egypt with all its history and all this, and the keenness of the leadership in Egypt to cope with all of the recommendation of the climate change of the first conference in Paris, and choice of Egypt to host this and this event is something great. It will help everybody, at least. Let the world see that we, as a developing country, doing our best for us and for our continent, taking it seriously.
Yes.
That's very important.
Also, the President is scheduled to probe a joint vision to support the African continent during coronavirus pandemic, facilitating the fair distribution and accessibility of all technologies related to the pandemic and vaccine production. Actually, we can see that the President is really concerned about the African continent regarding all issues related to it. So, how can this be achieved?
Absolutely, I agree with you, because this was a very tough test, actually, for everybody, and those who could help in facilitating or reducing the ramification of this COVID pandemic. In this case, it came directly in technical assistance, in supply, especially of vaccine.
Yes.
Actually, Europe was not to that level as they promised even. So I think, and it's well-known story that the fulfillment of this promise that to help Africa as much as, I'm talking of Europe as European Union, not on single basis, single country basis. It's not, actually it's not to the level which is really could be satisfactory.
Yes.
But they noticed it, and they are talking about it now, even there in European Union. And there is, I think, fresh trials, or to fulfill this promise.
So, sir, also as founder of the Egyptian European Council, can you tell us about some of its activities and how it works on enhancing cooperation between Egypt as an African country and the European countries?
Yeah, it goes back to quite some time now, where we were a part of what we call European partnership, partenariat. And this entailed a lot of scope, a big scope of cooperation and fields. And most of them, or all of them, are very beneficial. And there was a great success stories in all this field coming out of cooperation with EU as a bloc. And it's still there. I could mention one of them, which is very important, actually, is this initiative from the European Union for modernization of Egyptian industries, plus other things. But I'm talking about the big...
Yes, it played the role in the modernization of Egyptian industries.
And still there, still working there. And everybody should be thanked for what he have done in this, from the Egyptian side, from the European side. Plus also some other activities and some other scope of cooperation.
Maybe cooperation in field of trade as well.
Everything.
Yes.
Even discussion of some problems, which is bilateral problems or of joint interest, especially from the European side. One of them is the immigration and the problems of the illegal immigration. And we have played a very important role in this. Just out of humanitarian side, not a beneficial side, or opportunistic, no. That was the difference.
And still, of course, it is playing a role.
Of course,
till
yes.
now.
And they know this in Europe very well, you know, especially our friends and our neighbors in the northern shores of the Mediterranean.
Yes. So, sir, how do you see the importance of the European countries support African countries in the field of education, innovation, human capital development, training cadres, as Egypt is doing this to many African youths come and take training here in Egypt. So how can also Europe be part of this program?
This is actually a very important part of the European duty towards Africa.
Yes.
It's by history and by neighborhood, you name it. The most important thing that the success stories always will give good results for both parties.
Yes.
The only thing is how much Europe can afford to really boost the all these activities which we are talking about. Most important of them is you know, the youth, because when you have training, you have it for the youth. You know, I mean, technical assistance, that's increasing the chance for better employment, for good chances, for a lot of development in the industry, in the agriculture, where it can absorb a lot of the human power in Africa. Yes, Europe is capable of doing this, and they have a very good record among them in Europe itself. You know, in Europe they are not the same. When the European Union took over, you know, he took care of for Portugal, for example, you know, as a country, and billions and billions have been spent, you know, to develop, and they are neighbors. So, I mean, the European Union, I mean, the rich countries there, which are well known, you know, they should address this issue, because it's for their goodness at the end, you know.
So, sir, Egypt is the gate to Africa, as we all know, and it also plays a role in activating this cooperation between the African countries and countries of the whole world, especially European countries. So how do you see Egypt's role in activating this cooperation between the two continents?
Well, our unique situation, I mean geographical situation, our position, is always, we should always think of it as a very positive element for everybody, either neighbors in the north or in the south, our colleagues, our region, because any joint activities needs people to get together. For example, combating terrorism, for example. I'm just giving you an example. If they can get together, you know, our position in geographically and our facilities, Suez Canal, and our access to Africa directly, being in the north and in the Middle East, is very important. I'm just giving you an example, but you can apply this for other activities, for other projects like, you know, industrial, agricultural, you know, cultural. We can play a very big and important role just because of our situation and, of course, our history with Africa and Europe.
Yes.
So, but the only thing is how to capitalize on this and develop it, always develop it, you know, increase the potential of it.
Do you think that there is a European interest in the African continent, as we have throughout the past years we have seen a Chinese interest in the African continent and its raw materials? They are making many development projects in Africa, and they really know how rich it is, this country. Do you think that Europe has the same interest?
Well, it should be.
Yes.
And I was a little bit astonished, not too much astonished, that in this European Council for this visit, I mean for this meeting, for this conference, the one which will take place, start tomorrow, that they mentioned the Chinese efforts and Chinese competition in Africa for help. Well, welcome for any competition for the goodness of the people.
Yes, yes.
So they must prove that they take it seriously, because, of course, there is always bilateral and there is mutual benefit. When Chinese-African business, I mean cooperation, of course, the benefit is for both sides. So the side which will make use of this cooperation is China in this case, will have its share of,
Yes.
of this cooperation. Then why not Europe? Why not Europe
The United
increasing
States, yes.
everybody. But we're talking now because this conference is about
Yes.
Europe and us. And by the way, geography is political, geopolitical essence in cooperation between the people and the world still have its role. We are the closest. Europe is the closest to Africa.
Yes, true.
Is it not? Geographically, you know. So it must have its role. So it must have its effect. So it's the role of Europe, it's the importance for Europe to cooperate with Africa, to have better Africa,
Yes.
prosperous Africa. And that's what they claim now. This is the motto now, the joint vision for 2030.
2030, yes, true. Also, one of the important investment opportunities in Africa is infrastructure investment, and also this is expected to be tackled in the summit. How to increase infrastructure investment and build a better Africa.
Yeah.
As I think that Egypt is also involved
Yes,
in
yes,
many infrastructure
sure,
projects in Africa.
I will refer to one of the most important elements hindering the strength or the power of cooperation or the development of cooperation between African countries themselves. It's the interconnectivity.
Yes.
Sometimes, you know, the problem is to reach physically from some country to another country.
Yes.
A lot of problem, geographical one, has to do with the infrastructure, which means actually roads. Now, this issue is taken care of by many international and European institutions. And maybe you have heard, and we know about this dream of having one
Cape Town,
Alex,
Egypt,
you know,
yes.
That's it. It is not a dream. This can be done. There is in far east between Russia. I mean, from east to west, you have such long roads and railroads. Look at China is trying to make the road and the belt. You know, so look, the road will be around the whole world at least.
Yes. And do you believe that the situation in Russia and Ukraine today is going to affect the summit or affect the global situation in the coming days?
If it gets tougher, I mean, in the sense of that,
Yes.
you know, the whole world will suffer, not only Africa. And they are aware of this. I mean, both parties, the big parties. I mean, Russia and
Yes.
USA.
We hope so. We hope that nothing
and at
will
least
happen.
the latest news say that there are,
Negotiations?
a little bit reduction in the tense of the
Yes.
situation by Mr. Putin is announcing that he's pulling some of his forces from the borders with Ukraine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, finally, I'd like to thank you, Dr. Mostafa
It's a
Waly,
pleasure.
founding member of the Egyptian-European Council. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
And the viewers, a short break and we'll be back, so stay tuned.